the 3 techniques for line management again: mending, raising and lowering the rod tip, pulling line in, feeding line out. I'm watching the fly line between my rod tip and my fly. And my goal is to have almost a straight line, a little bit of a little curve in there on the fly line and leader between the rod tip and the fly. Let me demonstrate what I want that to look like. See right now, if you see my fly, you have a fairly straight line between my rod tip and my fly. Did a little bend there. Fairly straight. Let me demonstrate what I don't want to happen. What I don't want to happen is a bunch of line on the water. Either with this like U shape that I have right now, I'd never be able to set the hook. I won't get as long as a drift as I want to get. The other thing I don't want is a bunch of sine waves or looks like a snake on the water or S. I won't get as long as a drift as I can get, nor will I ever be able to set that hook very effectively. Now I'm going to move into those 3 techniques of managing that fly line between the rod tip and the fly. The first one is a mend. And what I'm going to do is, just as that fly is hitting the water, I'm going to take my hand and I'm going to make a C this way, with flip the line upstream. I'm going to make a C this way. When I'm going to mend line, the way I do that is, I'm going to demonstrate it with just my hand first. I'm basically going to take my hand, make a C. In this case, I make a C upstream. I'm going to move that fly line upstream. If I make that same move with a C with my hand on the cork, I do it downstream, I'm going to move that fly line downstream. Let's try it with just a dry line in the rod. Okay, again, I'm going to make a C with my hand, which moves the rod tip in a C track. There is a C upstream, going to send the line upstream. There was a C downstream, going to send that line downstream. Let me demonstrate that now with fly line. I'm going to cast upstream. As soon as that fly hits, I'm going to mend upstream. I did my C upstream. You'll notice my fly is leading, my leader's behind my fly, and my fly line's behind my leader. I'm going to get a nice long natural drift. Let's show that one more time. Gonna cast upstream, fly lands, the wind got in the way on that one. Let's try that again. Did my C upstream, didn't move as much line as I wanted, did a second one. Got my fly leading, leader behind it, and fly line there. That wasn't a good mend. Do my C. Now you'll see my fly line's leading, my fly is leading, the leader is behind the fly, and the fly line is behind the leader. You'll notice I'm letting the rod tip follow it down as well. Second technique is raising and lowering the rod tip. I'm going to demonstrate it with a short amount of line because it works best, raising and lowering this rod tip, when you're fishing in really close to you and you just have a little bit of line to manage. I'm going to cast upstream. My fly is low, my rod tip is low. As the fly is coming toward me, I'm raising my rod tip, taking line and leader off the water. As the fly gets below me, I'm going to lower my rod tip. I'm getting leader on the water, now the fly line's on the water. One more time. I'm going to cast forward, fly hits. Rod tip's low, going to raise my rod tip, taking line and leader off the water. Fly is even with me, going to lower my rod tip. Leader is touching the water, line is now touching the water. The third technique for line management is to pull line in as the fly is coming toward me, to feed line out as the fly is going downstream. What's key in pulling that line in and feeding that line out is I maintain that relatively straight line path between the rod tip and the fly, and I pull line in and feed line out without impacting the natural drift of that fly. I'm pulling line in, maintaining that. I'm not moving the fly. Fly's naturally drifting. Fly gets below me. I'm going to start feeding line out. Let me demonstrate that one more time. Cast upstream, fly lands. I'm just going to start pulling line in, keeping my eye on that rod tip and the fly all the time. I'm going to do a little bend here, then I'm going to feed my line downstream. I've demonstrated 3 techniques for line management. One is mending, the other is raising and lower the rod tip, and the third one is pulling line in and feeding line out. We're going to put that together, put all 3 of them together on a cast here. I'm going to drive my fly out, give it a couple false casts, fly lands, give it a little bend, reposition the leader and fly line above. Notice I'm raising the rod tip, pulling some line in, lowering the rod tip, as well as letting some line out. And look at that nice long drift I got. Let me demonstrate that one more time. Couple false casts to drive the fly out. Fly lands, do my mend. I'm going to raise the rod tip up. I'm pulling some line in as I do that. I'm going to lower the rod tip. I'm going to feed some line out as I do that. Oh, now there was a nice long drift. Didn't give me a fish though. Another day, another time for another fish.